Hi, I'm Jessica Citizen from Player Attack. We are here at EB Expo 2012 in Sydney. I'm with a couple of guys from Ubisoft Montreal. We're talking about Assassin's Creed. So, what has happened since E3 when we caught up with Ubisoft Singapore to talk about Assassin's Creed? What can you tell me that's new and exciting?
The game's done. I mean,
that's pretty exciting.
That's the main thing that happened from then till now. We just closed up the game very recently, so hopefully, not hopefully, it's on shelves on the 31st. And yeah, so we've just been working really, really hard, eating a lot of junk food, not sleeping that much, and making hopefully one of the better ACs yet.
Yeah, and touring across the world to showcase the game to journalists and media and fans as well. So we're super happy to be here in Sydney. It's really cool. That expo is really amazing. So it's really great to be here. And then we're off to vacation time and we're looking forward to that.
Are there still people back in Montreal that are still actually working on things and doing those last minute fixes, or is it completely done?
We're pretty much completely done. I think the last people left for vacations this week. We're the only stragglers because we're in another country.
It's time differences.
Exactly. Daylight savings, it gets you every time.
So when we did catch up with Hugh from Singapore when we were in E3, we were talking about the naval battles because that was the next big thing. Now we're talking about Homestead, we're talking about Frontiers. What can you tell us about that?
Well, we've talked about Homestead a lot because Homestead is basically our take on the American dream, if you want. So it starts off with a decrepit manor in a virgin forest, and as you do missions, it's very story-oriented this time around. So as you do missions, basically you get to build your own little village. So that's a pretty cool fantasy that we wanted to do that ties in very well with the story that we're telling. Yeah, the Homestead is the new gameplay that we presented in the past few weeks, and so far the reception has been pretty good on it.
Yeah, and it's also very we designed it to feel like home. Seeing as the cities, in a sense, you feel like a stranger. You're there by your lonesome. It's not necessarily a lonely place because there's a lot of people, but at the same time, in a big city, you do feel alone sometimes. And the Homestead is designed to be this at-home experience where you the cheer song where everybody knows your name. That's sort of what the Homestead is, where you personally meet and recruit or welcome into your lands all the people that live there. So you sort of everybody's name. You know?
Yeah, it's also the glue between the different gameplay that we have in the game as well, because as you build your homestead, basically you'll find out that there's links with other gameplay elements in the game, like the forts or the naval battles, the hunting even. All of that ties into the homestead, so it's really the centerpiece of all the side content of the game. So we were pretty excited to show that as well, just to show the variety that you can have playing the game.
I mean, Assassin's Creed is well known for being an incredibly basic and linear game that has no twists and turns and nothing coming out of left field. So it's kind of nice of you guys to be able to tie everything all back in together.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we've been known to tell these big stories and very narratively oriented in a way, and we're also dealing with historical facts that we have. If a certain person dies in a certain way, well, we have to respect that. So we tried to find a way to give more freedom to the player in a certain way, and all the side content in the game is exactly that. So you can decide if you want to engage in it or not, and you basically build your own little story with that content. So we're pretty excited with that.
Previous Assassin's Creed games have focused mainly on cities and places with a lot of built-up areas. The frontier section of Assassin's Creed 3 has got trees and natural things. And what's it been like trying to take the classic gameplay and putting it into such a completely different setting?
It was a really big challenge for us because from the very beginning of the AC brand, organics, if we call them that, we're always a limitation. It's something the player couldn't climb, and we created those as boundaries. It's just easy ways for us to not have the player go out of the map. Yeah. And then when we started on AC3 and we knew what the time period was, that's where we're well, look, that doesn't work anymore. We actually I mean, we have huge spreads of land that we have to be able to climb trees, climb rocks, and pretty much like explore all of this undiscovered land. So we developed our tech around it, and then afterwards, like then, okay, well, what does that mean for missions? What does it mean for the story? What does it mean for all the different gameplays? And we realized pretty quickly that it was actually fairly similar in a sense to a city, just populated differently. So, I mean, you can still stealth around and try and track down your enemy instead of using crowds, however, you're using vegetation to hide. So if you're stalking around in the bushes or up in the trees, you're considered like hidden in a sense. So it sort of felt really well for Connor to basically have even more control on his covertness in a sense, seeing as the elements are static now. So he's actually more powerful in the forest than he is in the city. So it fit really well for a Native American.
In terms of production, we basically had to review all the way we were building our maps, because we were so used to making cities which are built on grids and known metrics, like they were built by men, right? So we like structured things. Obviously the forest is quite the opposite. It's chaotic. We didn't want the forest to feel like they were on a grid, you know, because they wouldn't feel real. So we basically took it the other way around. We started by building a map the way we wanted it to feel, like in a more like a art-oriented approach, and then we carved some paths inside of the forest to make it interesting in terms of gameplay. So we basically had to review the way we've been working so far. So that was both scary and interesting at the same time. So I think the final result is pretty believable and interesting. So we're pretty happy about that. But there was a lot of work involved for sure.
The Assassin's Creed franchise has visited a number of different places over the years, and you know, this is set in America. Obviously, you guys aren't American. Ubisoft Montreal, not an American studio. Why are we not in Canada?
There's only beavers in Canada, right? And maple syrup. That's all. That's all we got. No. I guess we're certainly cousins in a way. Like we have a shared history for sure. I mean, we were both British colonies at one point. So we even in high school in history we learned about the American history, and telling that story of the revolution is also a way to tell the story of our country in a certain way. And for us, the Native Americans played a big role, because it's a culture that is very close to us, and we really wanted to tell that story of that culture in a respectful manner. So even though we're not Americans, we're North Americans, so we're telling a bit of our story inside Assassin's Creed 3 for sure. Yeah.
And like we do have like a certain part of it that's in there, but it was more interesting in a sense. Like we always find it more interesting to choose a culture or a time period that is not as familiar to us, because like for gamers it's obviously interesting to learn about these things, but like we need to have fun as well. So like it's always fun to like choose a time period that we get to just know and love as we're making the game. It's what keeps us alive in a sense.
And we also need conflict in a way. Like we like to make games where there was like a big conflict, because obviously behind it there's assassins and Templars fighting off. So it's a good way to tell the story we want to tell. So the American Revolution was just perfect for that in a certain way.
So Assassin's Creed 3, it's very, very close to release. How much longer do we have to wait, and where can we get it?
It's almost out now, coming out at the end of this month, so on October 31st on PS3 and 360.
And November 22 for the PC.
Excellent. Philippe, Julien, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.